Have you seen people in white robes with pointed hoods at the top with two holes for eyes? Perhaps you might have seen them in movies, doing some disturbing things to humans and even giving a satanic feeling. You will find it chilling to know that these people have existed in reality since 1920. Ku Klux Klan is a notorious white supremacist group that would hang, flog, murder, and torture minorities, especially Africans and Jews. Not only that, but the Ku Klux Klan was spreading horror when millions of Americans joined it, getting encouraged to do despicable crimes like cutting their victims' body parts, putting tar, burning their skin, and adding feathers to humiliate them. But how did a black man infiltrate such an extremist group limited only to white supremacists? Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about less-known and hidden black history, culture, arts, and lost civilization. We scrutinize history here to bring the black culture back on the surface again. In this episode, we will tell you the unsettling story of the Ku Klux Klan, how a black man infiltrated it, and what happened to him. Let's get started. For the very first time, the Ku Klux Klan was founded on December 24, 1865, in Pulaski, Tennessee, United States. The objective behind the creation was to strengthen white supremacy and suppress blacks, Jews, and minorities either by intimidation or killing. However, the Ku Klux Klan has seen declines and revivals since then. Until the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan was illegal. However, the immigration in 1910 and 1920s made American white supremacists insecure again. They decided to revive the Klan, and millions of Americans joined it, making it nearly impossible for immigrants and minorities to live in the U.S. But later, the Klan was again forgotten. The American Civil Rights Movement in the 1950s and 1960s replenished the Ku Klux Klan once again in the 1960s. It was becoming impossible for authorities to trace its members and punish them for stopping their disturbing and unsettling crimes, like hanging, torturing, flogging, and even burning the cross. Now imagine it's 1978, and the Ku Klux Klan is rising its head once again and finding new recruits. It's late October 1978 in Colorado Springs. Ken Odell, a member of the Ku Klux Klan, receives a letter from Ron Stallworth, who wants to join the Klan and work for the so-called noble cause of the white race. Ken and Ron start talking on the phone, and Ken sees Ron as a man worthy enough to be recruited into the Klan. Ken is so impressed by Ron that he helps him gain full access to the Klan and even promotes him as a future leader of the local chapter. However, you might wonder how a black could join the Klan working against blacks. Well, to know the answer, let's go back to the story. Ken doesn't know two things about Ron until 28 years later when Ron reveals them in a newspaper interview. First, Ken doesn't know that Ron is an undercover police officer, and second, he is black. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on black culture, history, civilization, and natural superiority. Let's continue now. The story of how a black police officer infiltrates the KKK is initially hard to wrap your mind around, making you question if it can possibly be true. However, once you take into account the state of late 1970s technology, it becomes easier to understand how such an audacious and thrilling police sting could ever come into being. With no internet or smartphones, resurgent underground terrorist organizations rely on letter writing and telephone calls for their secret communications. Ken has no way of knowing, for example, that the voice on the other end of the telephone line, raging against slaves, belongs to anyone but what Ken likes to call an intelligent white man, like himself. Simply, Ken falls for it. The police were concerned and wanted more information on Klan activities, and Ron had to do the hard work by infiltrating the Klan. But he had to do the job prudently and carefully. When he saw the ad in the newspaper, he wrote back expecting pamphlets in response. Instead, Ken Odell contacted him, introducing himself as the leader of the cause. During Ron's communication with Ken on the phone, he would listen to his voice carefully and try to pay attention to the details. Actually, he and the police department wanted to know what the Ku Klux Klan was thinking those days and what their psychology was. The Ku Klux Klan had always revived whenever the white supremacists felt insecurity, but the police didn't know what the insecurity was this time. However, Ken told Ron what the problem was. Once, Ken told Ron that his sister had a relationship with a black person, and it made him sick to think about him touching her. Ron now comes to know how he should pretend to get more information. Hence, he makes his two versions. One, the Black Ron, who would manage the untraceable phone line and do right correspondence, and one, the white version of himself, Chuck, a friend who worked in narcotics to deal with any clandestine meetings that may arise. On the phone, Ron will become the white supremacist, while whenever he is expected to meet in person, Ron will send his friend, Chuck. At first, Ron was expected to meet Ken and discuss his membership in the Klan. Hence, Chuck was sent, and it played very well. After some time, Ron was given the membership and a card he holds today. Although the character Chuck was working, senior staff were against it, fearing Ron's black voice would give him away. Since two different persons had talked to Ken, he might observe the difference in their voices, which he did. However, Ron said that he had a sinus infection which Ken bought. During this investigation, Ron often had difficulty not laughing out loud at how credulous or petty the Klan members were. Later on, it is planned that 4 17-feet crosses will be burnt. Klan members will collaborate on terrorist activities with other radical groups led by David Duke, the white supremacist politician and Holocaust denier. Ron formed a cordial relationship with Duke over the phone, calling him a very pleasant conversationalist. Duke then led Chuck's solemn candlelit naturalization ceremony. Ron later joked about how he had tricked the Grand Wizard, David Duke, and his followers, something he never imagined would come to define him. In a twist of fate, Ron Stallworth was assigned to protect Duke after he started receiving death threats. Ron went to Duke in his police uniform as his bodyguard and told Duke that even though he didn't agree with Duke's beliefs, he would maintain his commitment to ensuring his safety. When Ron asked for a photo with Duke, Chuck, yes, the real Chuck, stepped in and took the Polaroid. Duke wasn't pleased with this and tried to stop Ron from leaving with the photo. To stop him, Ron threatened to arrest Duke for assaulting an officer. A few days passed, and in their next phone call, Duke told Ron a story about an officer who had threatened to put him behind bars, full of racial slurs. But how successful was Ron during all this covert operation? Well, the investigation did not result in any legal action. Still, it did stop a neo-Nazi plan to bomb a gay bar, identified 7 Klansman Army personnel, and unearthed intelligence about violent plots among black extremists. It was eventually shut down for fear of misinterpretation due to Denver's 1920s police chief being a Klansman. After his retirement in 2006, Ron went public with the news and became a target for white supremacists on websites. He subsequently started carrying a gun again, saying he had no qualms about white people as his mother taught him to defend himself if called slurs. What do you think? Is the Ku Klux Klan still active today? Isn't it a possibility that thousands of Ku Klux Klan members would be working for their abhorrent objectives still today? Let us know in the comments section right below. What if the Ku Klux Klan is secretly kidnapping, torturing, and murdering black Africans? People go missing and who knows, the KKK kidnaps them. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody is talking about: the black culture, civilization, history, and the evidence proving black superiority. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.